Welcome to Cigar Time, your ever so friendly show all about premium cigars. Welcome back, everybody.
Welcome back.
Thank you. It's good
Did you have a good week?
Good to be
here.
I haven't seen you in a
Great
while.
week.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, really.
Today we're very pleased and honored to have Robert
didn't show
Holt.
up.
He and his family own the Southern Draw Cigar Company, one of the hottest boutique lines out there.
Yes.
And we're very proud to carry the line. There's a lot of worthwhile things that his company and his family do, and I'll let him explain all that.
Yeah, they
but
make cigars.
first, we'll light up our cigars. Robert?
Well, they make cigars with stories and
Yeah,
purpose.
a lot of good
I
stories.
like the ones made with tobacco.
What are we smoking today?
We're going to start the day with the 300 Hands Habano. So
Wow.
this is one of the three blends for the charity line 300 Hands. Ecuadorian Habano, African grown Cameroon binder, and then we get into the celebration of the classics. Corojo 99, Criollo 98 on the filler combination. So
Huh.
nice, true, medium, nice little spices from that African grown Cameroon, I think is a great compliment to the Habano.
I love that tobacco.
I'm sure we want to hear about the charity work with this cigar and what it's for, but a question about the cigar. Why a Cameroon binder? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, I would love to know this answer.
Typically it's like a weaker, thinner tobacco and it wouldn't be used for a binder. I'm
Well,
curious.
Maybe so. I can't say that Southern Draw is ever trying to follow or emulate traditions and blending styles, but I can say very simply that African grown Cameroon is becoming harder and harder to source.
Oh, yeah.
Number one. Number
Expensive
two,
as hell.
it's very expensive. Those two key factors. In this case, if we use the Cameroon as a wrapper, we would be able to make about half the amount of cigars as we have, and the price would be about 25% higher.
Oh, okay.
So as a charity line, as a value price line, using that to really highlight and to complement the Habano, a traditional, especially in a value line, you really want to look at having a mild, medium, and a full-bodied cigar in a value line. I think it's very traditional. In this case, the complement of the Cameroon allows us to get twice the production using that tobacco.
Okay. So
creates a
you're
unique.
You're
yeah,
still getting the flavor
absolutely.
from the
Yeah, it
Cameroon.
brings out
but
that peppery flavor that the Cameroon
And I tell
has.
you, try a little retro hell on this cigar, and we're smoking the Petit Mundo. We went with five classic Cuban sizes in this line. We're starting with the Petit Mundo, which is a very traditional cigar to start your day with. And then we have a couple of nice thin ring gauge cigars, the Coloniales and the Corona Gordo, and those 40-46 ring gauges. Of course, this goes up to a Pyramides and then a classic 748 Churchill.
What you
But
got?
I want to see
I
how your
got
retro
very
hell
Cuban-esque.
works out for you.
I got very black pepper. Just like I almost felt like I was exhaling black pepper through my nose. But
Yeah.
not
And you didn't sneeze?
I held it back. But it's not it has that black pepper flavor, I want to say, but it wasn't really spicy.
Right.
I don't know. It
It's a
doesn't
more
have that
subtle.
bite. It doesn't have that
I was
bite.
going to say
Yeah.
it's subtle.
It's
More of
very
a
on
white,
the retro.
a white pepper.
And it
Really,
does
I
feel
felt
like
more-
white
what-
pepper.
I get it. It's very Cuban-esque.
Thank you. I mean, really, it was meant to be that classic. And I use
Yeah.
this term when we release the cigar. To me, as just, and I smoke everybody's cigars. Most people know I support a lot of brands that have paved the way for us and helped our little brand out. But we wanted a Habano of Habanos.
Yeah.
Let's celebrate a classic Habano. But that Corojo 99 and Criollo 98 filler combination is where that little bit of spice is coming from, but it is a much more subtle approach, I think, to really not overpower the beauty of that Habano. And again, complement that with a Cameroon where you get those little baking spices
Yeah.
and things that go with it. And the retro is just smooth
It
and
is.
clean, but it's got some meat to it, right?
I don't
Oh,
wanna,
yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead on, but this was when you originally came in. This was my favorite of all the stuff. This came in like last October, I think you were first here.
We got it, yeah.
This was the favorite of all the blends.
The 300 Hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
Now-
you said value. Oh, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, like, maybe you're going the same place, but there's a story behind this and what you do with it. I
Well,
think
before
is
the
really
story,
important.
I just wanted to follow up on what Robert said about the value price. What are the prices on these?
It's like six to six.
So they're on the
Somewhere
low.
between $6 and $7, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're on the low end of the sweet spot.
Yes.
So that is a value.
I think the most important in the value concept is I believe all brands that grow need a value price cigar. Not necessarily segundos, not necessarily bundle cigars. We know what that means, and they sell well, and a lot of us smoke them. But for a brand of our size to have value price, the only way to really accomplish that and put a full premium cigar that, as you said, we've had some pretty good hits on our hands, but if your favorite cigar of our line was this, that's to me pretty impressive, since we're smoking a $6 cigar today, right? That means mission accomplished on that side. But the key to this entire line was really capturing very classic profiles, using classic vitolas or classic sizes of Cuban cigars, and really telling the story. 300 hands, what is that a reference to? Most of us in this industry we've heard anything from 200 to 300 hands, from seed all the way to the first ash we drop in the ashtray, really 300 hands in a process. But I think this line really takes it another step further, because they're packaged in a case where we use the baseball card phenomenon. We all grew up with it. We put names to faces. We put job descriptions. We put information on their families and their history. But maybe the most important aspect is 300 hands as a line. The hashtag that we use, because it really tells it, this is their story. This is not about Southern Draw. It's not about cigars. This is about the 300 hands and what they do to contribute, but also the challenges in their everyday lives. So to make it a value price cigar, what the Southern Draw decided with our partners, and of course the partners include production, the media, and of course our retailers and consumers. That's a true partnership in a sense. Our margins are only 25% on this cigar, which allows us to sell it for 6 to 7. In most markets, it's $5.99 to $6.49, right? Instead of 10, we sell in more volume, but it allows us to commit 100% of the profits. 100% of the profits of this cigar go to charitable needs in Nicaragua. Not to a foundation, not to a 501c3, if you will, where we have where we're hands off.
Right.
The people in this project have decided and defined needs in their communities, and what we're doing is enabling them to help themselves. By giving these donations, we go with them into the community, whether it's additional health care, whether it's home improvements, education for kids, uniforms, clothing, heart monitors. I mean, there's all kinds of things that people need that are just outside of their ability on a monthly basis to achieve. So,
and don't you identify, I'm not sure if you explained it this way, that you identify individuals that have needs, not just you buy a bunch of heart monitors for people, but I think you were telling us before somebody needed back surgery.
Absolutely.
An individual needed back surgery, and you guys provided that for them. And
not only, and I wouldn't even say we provided it, right? So the beauty of this pricing model, and it works the same with our military charities, which we'll talk to at another point, is in the pricing model, it allows us to sell it to our retail partners to transfer that product to a consumer. So basically all three of us have contributed equal parts to this charity through the pricing model. So we paid on the production side. When we sell it to you, we also have another contribution. And what happens is the next time you reorder, we're able to account for the amount of product that you've moved. So every quarter we get to go into the community and say, these are the donations. And what happens is, in the first year, we had 15 of the 300 people in the project. So every one of the bundles and the displays of 300 hands has their story, and we add those baseball cards. And the joy of it is not one of those people in the project have ever asked for anything. They have identified people in their community, and not all of them are in the cigar industry or tobacco industry. They're people that are in the community in need, and some of them are able-bodied and they work hard, provide for their families, and some are just unable to do it anymore. But we just want to make sure that they can hold their head proud, that they can help in their communities. It's great to give, but I think it's better to do. And in this case, we're providing the financial resources to do something, not just the money.
right. That's what I meant by the individuals are identified, as opposed to, like you said, just giving it to a.
Absolutely.
I don't think anything like this has ever been done in this industry.
Not that I'm aware of.
There are lots of
There's
charitable.
lots of,
but
But
the way
on this level.
on an
at
individual.
that level,
Yeah.
yes, at that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're not just giving it to United Way when Lord only knows where that money goes.
Right.
But
And you're right. There's so many great charitable causes and projects in this industry. You know, having smoked cigars for 28 years, learned a lot from watching our good friends at J.C. Newman, for
Well,
example.
the
Without
Puente
question.
Newman family, what they do, I've been there.
Yeah.
What they do down there is remarkable.
And we wouldn't discount what pretty much everybody in the industry does, whether it's their
Sure.
employees or family members. They do great. But for us as a smaller brand, we think the message is more important. Share the message, share the story of the people, and let them be part of the giving. Let them be part of the healing, if you will.
Well, that's one of the reasons you're here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like.
That's one of the reasons
Yeah.
we said, you know what, we're gonna partner with these guys.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
a big part of it.
It's beyond a feel good. You know, on you're right down there on the ground. You're
Right.
there, and I like the connection with the cards and everything, and especially on a value line. I like the connection between the consumer
Yes.
and in a sense directly to Nicaragua. The consumer in buying these cigars is really supporting something that's really, really good.
Yeah.
Really
It's
good.
worthwhile.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think
What?
we all
And
win.
getting a great cigar at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we-
The fact that it's a good cigar is a bonus.
It
Should we
is.
give our initial impression?
I think I
Scott,
already did.
why don't you?
Well, yeah, it's. I think this is the medium. Very peppery. I love the flavor from the Cameron, which is I think where that pepper's coming from. Normally, I get more of a sweet
From a
spice
home.
from Cameron, but that's usually because it's usually the wrapper, and I think that's where it's coming from.
Rob?
I'm getting a very earthy taste. Like I said, it's very Cuban-esque. It really does
It doesn't
bring
taste
back
like soap.
It brings back the taste of the old Cubans that I've smoked. I mean, not that you've smoked,
Yeah.
but that I've smoked before. It's,
Certainly better than anything they're making today.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's fantastic. I really do.
See?
Well, I'm glad he pointed out that it was a Cameroon binder because that kind of answers the question that Art and I always say. It's not really the wrapper that you're getting 70% of the flavor from. So I definitely taste the Cameroon. I think the pepper for me backed off a little bit. It was a lot in the beginning, but now I think it's a little bit more subtle. And I do like the retro hell. It was nice.
Thank
So.
you.
I think the amazing thing to me
And the
is-
construction is nice too.
the construction is nice. The amazing thing to me is, for as we call it, a value price cigar, it's not one dimensional. I'm getting another
Right.
dimension as I'm smoking
Right.
this.
Yep.
Actually, yeah.
And the
And it's
pepper,
like a sweet,
yeah,
like
yeah,
a long,
exactly
like a sweet
right.
finish.
You're right in the front.
Yeah.
And the pepper has backed off.
Yep.
And I agree with Rob that it's very reminiscent of an old Cuban taste.
It is.
Yeah.
By
And
proxy, that means you agree with me.
do I agree with
You
you
didn't say
by
anything about
proxy?
Cuban.
Well,
Yeah, you
I let
can-
you do it this time.
Was it the 3 degrees of separation? How does that work? We're all related
Why is he
somehow?
here?
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to know.
Why is who here? Him?
Me.
Oh yeah, turn
Wow.
your phone off.
Is this your first day on the set?
Yeah, it's his first day on
Really?
the set. I tell everybody turn your cell phones off, and
Mine's on vibrate.
is it important?
And it's right under my leg.
Are-
No,
are we
no,
in a-
no, we'll wait.
Are we interrupting you?
I'm actually turning
We'll wait.
the noise
heard
down.
me?
Maybe it's the boss lady with
Train
a
professional.
purchase order.
You heard
Yeah,
me?
Yeah, right.
That makes
I
sense.
said mine's on vibrate and it's right under my leg.
Ring
Oh,
bell.
that's a good place.
Call line.
That
sounds
like
I
fun for the
hide
whole
my
family.
phone.
There we go. All right. There, we're good.
All right.
I thought
At
I
least it
turned
wasn't like John where the store phone started ringing in his pocket.
Oh,
that was hilarious.
That was fun.
That was pretty funny.
Question I have, and I know when we first met you answered, but I'm sure our audience at home would like to know
How'd you get started?
exactly
How'd you get
how did all
started?
this evolve?
That is a very long story, and we're limited for time. But I'll tell you,
Well, we can continue next week too.
yeah, absolutely, we'll do that. But I think the beginning is number one. I've smoked cigars pretty much my entire adult life, about 28 years.
Wow.
I've never had a cigarette or other chemicals that give off a plume of smoke.
Yeah.
But it's really been my medicine through my military career and corporate career. But I've enjoyed it so much. But a good number of years ago, we had a business venture that took us basically to every country, Central, South America, the Caribbean. And most people in the industry do know this about me. I'm a wireless engineer by trade. I design wireless networks
Right.
for
Wow.
Verizon, Sprint, Qualcomm, companies like this. But what happened in that time frame was Business was wonderful in that industry. I've always smoked cigars, of course, and I spent a lot of time with our staff there in Central and South America, adopting their cultures and their traditions throughout the workday. But they exposed me to the farming side of tobacco. They exposed me to the factory side. They exposed me to the fermentation. And, you know, about 14 years ago, I was convinced that by a lot of folks from Ecuador and Brazil and Dominican Republic and even Cuba, for example, that this is a great commodity. For someone that comes from the stock market, comes from publicly traded companies, this is a commodity to do. It's not pork bellies, but it's pretty good. And the art behind it. So I really became a student of the game and watching and traveling and learning. And as an engineer, I just documented everything. But it started by, as our friends at Cigar Journal put it a few years ago, it started, Southern Draw was started and it was born a failure, really meant born of failure. Another thing happened with our other business, and we were scammed and defrauded, and basically a lifetime of investments were taken from our family, and most everybody in our family that's part of Southern Draw today. But it opened another door. It opened an opportunity to start a brand that was really a mission. This wasn't a business for us. Our family was on a mission to source raw materials, do the best we could with what we have, but really to provide housing and food and clothing and education to a select amount of people that were willing to work hard, that were really trying to survive. And the Lord blessed us, and basically, you know, 6 years after we put the cigars on the market, we've been able to grow the portfolio, we've been able to grow our retail partnerships, and ultimately our mission hasn't changed. And our mission is charity first. Give of our first, give of our best. And if there's something left, then we'll eat too. But I think the mission has afforded us and allowed us to spend time with folks like yourselves and smoke cigars. It keeps me out of trouble, you know, for the most part. But it was just a long-standing history for the most part, because
we like to hear that other part.
Yeah, that's for the next show, of course. But you know, one door closed, another one opened, and it allowed us to do something that we get to do now as a family. And you mentioned it earlier, our family is not just Sharon and Ethan and I. Our family is about 17 family members that pulled their financial resources, pulled their technical, professional resources, and they let me be the face, unfortunate for them. They let me do the blending and production, but there's a lot of people involved. And those of you that went to the trade show saw our family. Everybody in that booth was engaged with a partner, was engaged with the media, was engaged with other brands, and they all can carry the torch equally. They're very well informed, educated, hard working. So the Southern Draw family is quite large in a sense. And maybe if we're blessed enough to be around at some point, we'll have a story for everybody's cigar, because right now we know there's stories behind all of our cigars. They all have a meaning, they all have an inspiration, but there's a lot of people that deserve it that haven't got it yet. So it's on my mind. I haven't forgotten you.
That's great.
Yeah, I met Jacob. He's a really cool kid. He's very knowledgeable. You said he's only 18 years old.
Right.
But you said he's also been in the field since he's been 8.
Yeah, the factories, you know, and again, the blessing of Ethan Jacob, and most people know that's the Jacob's ladder, the big blue, bold, but approachable, as he says, cigar. The cigar was really blended with the character of this young man. He's 6'4", 230 pounds. He's big, he's strong, he's smart, but he's also very kind-hearted. He's got an old soul, as my wife says. So the blessing for that young man is that he's, and I say this all the time, he's 70% his mom and 30% his dad. So the balance is perfect.
A good mix.
Yes.
Now, back to this for just a second. We're smoking the Habano. There's 2 other blends, is that right?
That's correct.
And the one is brand new, right?
Right. Well, it's new in a sense. It's new to the major market. We have a very detailed production distribution strategy. So that 15-year plan is being affected, you know, every quarter. I think it was very well thought out, almost over thought out, you know, on what we wanted to do. So we know the release dates of every cigar forever, and it would take divine intervention to change that. But this line came out. We really pushed it last year at the trade show. We got to visit you guys in October. The second blend is a San Andreas Maduro, and it's the only San Andreas wrapped cigar that we've ever put on the market. We've used it for binder and filler and other cigars. For example, the Firethorn is a Habano Rosado with a San Andreas binder. Beautiful combination. But the San Andreas, a fuller bodied version, again, focus on the Corojo 99, the Criollo 98 filler, again in the same classic 5 sizes. But maybe the one I'm most proud of is the one that the line extension from this year, and that is the Connecticut. Connecticut USA wrapper, a Peruvian binder, and again back to the classic Corojo Criollo, different combinations there. But
You like playing with those binders.
But
well,
then because it means
this is meant to be, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
You hit the nail on the
thank
head.
you.
See, people don't believe me when I say,
I
you know, a
say
lot of
too.
people argue 100% of the taste comes from the wrapper.
No,
No,
sir. No, sir. If you're trying to blend a cigar, you have your own character, you have your own personality, your own profile, your signature, if you will. Every brand has it. For us, we wanted diversity, but we also want to have 3 elements. We want strength, we want flavor, and we want aroma. We want those characteristics depending on where the source of the tobacco, how it's fermented, how it's placed in the blend itself. But that Connecticut USA and the Peruvian, again, the whole point of this charity line is let's get back to the tradition and culture. And what's more traditional and more culturally driven than Corojo and Criollo?
Yeah, that's
Right.
pretty
And it's not
traditional.
the same, and
Yes.
they're not the same varietal from the same farms. They're all different, but we focus on those specific tobaccos and the filler combinations of this line. So we always get to have that little tradition, that little homage, if you will.
Now,
And it-
this is the first, I'm sorry, Scott, this is the first I've ever heard of a Peruvian binder, and I love that because I love Peruvian tobacco.
Right.
And it's very distinct taste with Peruvian, and you don't see that a lot. So what made you put that binder on? I love that.
Well, you know,
Now I gotta smoke it. Now I gotta smoke it.
we
I'm
have
curious.
we have a quick draw line that's in a Connecticut, and it's really focused on small ring gauge cigars, and it's an Ecuadorian Connecticut. It's more of a medium-bodied cigar. The Rosa Sharon, as we know, again a different Ecuadorian Connecticut, a big heavy Nicaraguan binder, and a little bit of Ligero. It's 25% Ligero. It's got body, it's got flavor. What we didn't have is a lighter, brighter, almost floral Connecticut, and we really wanted to celebrate that with the 300 hands. The Connecticut USA has a great flavor. It's a beautiful wrapper. I'm sure we'll try one later. But the Peruvian allowed it to have spice, but also it became a lighter blend, a beautiful morning, a beautiful after dinner, a beautiful palate cleanser in between. But it's probably the lightest, brightest blend that we've ever released. And again, what better than to put it into the charity line to celebrate it?
Yeah.
Peruvian, it would have been a great wrapper, believe me. But a value line with a Peruvian wrapper doesn't even fit. You know, in my mentality, you got to go with. We had to have a Connecticut Habano and a Maduro in that line. That's really where we wanted to go.
Well, you know,
That's awesome.
back to what you guys were talking about, what percentage flavor comes from the filler versus the wrapper. I think you get different flavors.
Oh, absolutely, sure.
Meaning, like a great example is you get a true Maduro. From the wrapper, you're getting that sweetness on the tongue. It's from the tobacco, from the flavor of the tobacco, not from the flavor of the lit tobacco.
Right.
And then from the fillers, you're going to get flavors from the
Yeah.
smoke, and you'll get the flavors from the smoke from the wrapper also. But I think that's you can almost define flavors differently than we normally do. If you have really good flavor from which we do on occasion, this is what I'm getting, and this is because it's the wrapper and it's from the physical tobacco, not the smoke.
Sure.
I think it just totally depends on the parts of the cigar. That, depending on what's inside and how it's wrapped, that is going to give you the percentage of how much is coming from the wrapper versus not coming from the wrapper.
Right.
So it does vary.
Well,
they're not the same.
Plus you said it's Corojo and Criollo, but different
Different varietals from different countries.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that just because it's the same filler, you're going to get different flavors because
Right.
from different. Everybody thinks, a Dominican cigar, they're all going to taste the same. It's like no, there could be 1,000 different blends of
Yeah.
more than 1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's a perception issue for a lot of cigar smokers, especially if you smoke for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Yes, wrapper is higher quality. It's beautiful. Most of it is almost flawless in appearance, right? So
exactly.
people have a perception that you put your best tobacco as a wrapper and then the binder and filler or whatever you have left.
Not
It's
necessarily.
not the case,
Yeah.
but I know
No,
there's
But that's
been
what they think.
there's been a perception for years. That's where
It's
the
appearance.
70% comes
Yeah.
from, and it's just not true.
Yeah,
It's just not true.
It's there for the appearance.
Yes.
The binder's the same stuff. It's just doesn't look as pretty.
And
Yeah.
in some cases, that's absolutely correct. For me, use a model like this. So we have a Habano Rosado. It's very thin, it's very temperamental, but it's so sweet and so, I mean, again, go back to the Fuente days, I loved that, their Habano Rosado offerings, right? But in our case, we used a very heavy, aggressive binder. And what happens in the post-roll aging is it creates integrity for that cigar. When those tobaccos marry, you won't see cracks, you won't see problems with that very thin Habano Rosado if it has something heavy and something hardy to adhere to, right? Now, the inverse is also correct. If you use a big, heavy Maduro, for us, it's easier to use a lighter, thinner binder.
Binder, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
that's just kind of our rule of
Definitely
thumb of
makes
what we
sense.
do. Now, we've obviously violated that in a few occasions with a double broadleaf, double wrapper broadleaf. But the other part of that is we do have well-aged, well-fermented tobaccos. We have great partners. They really afforded us the luxuries, but we've paid for it too. We didn't come in and say, give us the best, but give us for the cheapest price. We knew what we wanted. We knew how we wanted to achieve it, the little differences. But almost all our core line is closed foot construction. So the closed foot construction goes back to this discussion, which is, let's really celebrate that first 2 or 3 draws. You're tasting only wrapper.
Right.
It's been well fermented. It's beautiful. We want you to taste it and enjoy it by itself, but let the wrapper ignite the binder and filler. Now enjoy the blend as we intended.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, I've seen them burn the foot off, tear the foot off. This is not a bundled cigar. Really enjoy it for what we meant.
Yeah.
You know, it's not leftover tobacco. It's intended so you can taste the
Right.
wrapper on its own,
Yeah.
just
Let
as
me-
we
let me-
blended it.
Let me just stop you there. We'll continue this
Sure.
discussion next week, but we want to put a number on it for our final discussion.
The peppery has subsided. I'm actually picking up a real sweetness.
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah,
Too.
me
I was
too.
going to
Exactly.
say
Yeah,
that.
we know
I was
that.
gonna say-
the retro
I
hell,
took
yeah.
my
I
words.
almost want to say caramelly, but whatever it is, it's very
It's
sweet.
sweet.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
sweet.
This gets a 9.25 from me.
Oh man!
Did you get it through the
I should have
retro
went
hell?
first.
Or
No, I got it. It just no.
I got the sweetness through the retro hell. I've been retro helling this whole cigar. It's
Yeah,
really,
me too.
It's really tasty cigar. It really is. I give this a 9.5. I
Wow.
think it's really good
For a $6 cigar.
for a $6 cigar. That's why price doesn't mean anything.
Well,
Stop.
Don't start.
Don't.
Don't start
okay.
that.
We don't have time to have this
We
argument.
do not have
Go
time.
ahead. Go ahead.
All right, I have to agree, Scott. You took the words right out of my mouth, but I get the sweetness throughout and on the finish now. It's very, to me,
Yeah.
it's complex.
Yeah.
It started off peppery, and then all of a sudden, as you're smoking it, it just backed off real quick, and then you got this sweetness. Maybe that floral, it's like a florally sweetness to it, and I do get the Cubanesque, and the draw is impeccable. Is that
Yeah.
why it's Southern Draw, impeccable draw? I don't know. Because the draw is awesome. So I'm going to, I'll give it 9.25.
Okay. It's hard to argue with anything that's been said here.
It's really
I
good.
tend to agree,
Especially
and
since
the
I
retro
started.
hail is actually very delicious. And, I'm just amazed, such a high-quality cigar for, as we keep saying.
Wow, you're almost done. He never smokes it like
Oh,
that.
I'm a power hitter, yeah. I power hit this sucker. And I give it a 9.5 as well. So it's an amazing value. It's a high-quality cigar. We're very proud to be carrying it and very proud to participate with the whole family in what they're doing.
It's beautiful.
So just want to remind everybody, our store on 611 and Edison Furlong should be open by the time you see this.
You better be.
Our 2 stores in Florida should be open by the time you see this. I may be broke and tired, but we should all be open. So we want to thank you very much for watching. Don't forget our Saturday
We'll
night
see you
show.
next
Ciao
We'll
for
see you
now,
next week.
everybody.
Bye for
We'll see
Life's
now.
too short
you.
to smoke cheap cigars.